Tonight's story is brought to you by Sarah, a once ordinary teenager from the quiet town of Millbrook. But her world changed forever when the Magnificent Carnival of Shadows appeared, an eerie spectacle promising wonders, but hiding ancient darkness. What began as a curiosity turned into a fight for her town, her friends, and her very soul. Armed with courage, humor, and a rubber chicken, Sarah faced the shadows in ways no one could have imagined. Let's listen to her tale of a carnival like no other, where fear meets laughter and nothing is as it seems.
Ferristopia, the Magnificent Carnival of Shadows. The leaves were falling early that year in Millbrook, drifting down like tiny amber ghosts in the October twilight. I remember sitting in my bedroom, watching them dance past my window, and thinking about how nothing ever changes in this town. You know the kind of place where the most exciting thing that happens is when someone gets their car stuck in Old Man Peterson's cornfield, or when the grocery store starts carrying a new flavor of ice cream. Mom always says I should be careful what I wish for. If I'd known what was coming, maybe I would have appreciated the quiet a little more. But when you're 16 and the highlight of your week is watching paint dry at your after-school job at the hardware store, even obvious red flags start to look an awful lot like an adventure. Looking back now, I suppose I should tell you who I am before diving into the strange events that unfolded that autumn. My friends call me Sarah Chen, just another junior at Millbrook High who spent most of her time dreaming of escape from our sleepy town. At least, that's who I was before everything changed. I know how this might sound like one of those campy horror stories where the teenager stumbles into supernatural trouble. But trust me, what happened in Millbrook was different. And if you're wondering how a completely ordinary girl ended up facing down ancient forces of darkness with nothing but her wits and a rubber chicken, well, I'm still wondering about that myself. Everything changed on a Thursday afternoon in late October. The sun was already starting to set, painting the sky in shades of purple and deep orange when I took my usual route home from school. The air had that special kind of autumn crispness that makes everything feel just a little bit magical. Or maybe that's just how I remember it now, knowing what was about to happen. I was doing my usual thing, scuffing through piles of fallen leaves and daydreaming about being anywhere else, when something caught my eye. There, stuck to a telephone pole, was a poster. The paper seemed to absorb the fading sunlight, its edges curling as if trying to escape the wooden pole. The text, written in what looked like liquid silver, seemed to dance across the surface. Come one, come all! The Magnificent Carnival of Shadows. 1 week only. Witness wonders beyond your wildest dreams. Now, I should probably mention that I've watched enough horror movies to know that any carnival with the word shadows in its name is probably bad news. But did that stop me? Of course not. Because here's the thing about being 16 and bored out of your mind, even obviously terrible ideas start to sound pretty good. The carnival was setting up when I got there. The thing that struck me first was how quiet it was. No workers shouting, no machinery clanking, just the whisper of canvas tents rising like giant mushrooms in the twilight. The second thing I noticed was how the shadows seemed wrong. They moved when they shouldn't, stretched in impossible directions, and sometimes, I swear, they smiled. A man approached me, tall and thin, wearing a pristine black suit. His name tag read Mr. Nocturne in spidery silver script. His smile was perfect, but it never reached his eyes. "Welcome, welcome," he said, his voice like velvet wrapped around broken glass. "Our first visitor. How delightful. Would you care for a free pass? Opening night is tomorrow, and we love enthusiastic young patrons." That should have been my cue to run. Instead, I took the ticket he offered, a piece of paper so black it seemed to absorb the light around it. The text shimmered in silver. Admit 1, special VIP access, all attractions. What happened next changed everything. As I walked home, I noticed something following me. Not footsteps, but a shadow that wasn't mine, moving just at the edge of my vision. When I got home, I found a message written in frost on my bedroom mirror. The show must feed. And that's when things got really weird. In the next few days, Millbrook started changing. Subtle things at first. People walking around with empty smiles. their shadows just slightly out of sync. Kids at school talked about the amazing dreams they had after visiting the carnival, dreams that left them looking a little more hollow each day. My best friend Jackie went to opening night and came back different. She kept talking about how wonderful Mr. Nocturne was, how the carnival would make everything better, and how I really needed to join the show. I started doing research. The pattern was there in old newspapers and forgotten blogs. The Magnificent Carnival of Shadows appeared every 40 years, and in its wake, towns would experience mysterious disappearances. The official stories always blamed economic downturns, mass relocations, or natural disasters. But the truth was in the details. Shadows that moved on their own, strange lights, and always the mysterious Mr. Nocturne. The carnival feeds on fear, but it has rules. Like a supernatural vampire that needs to be invited in, it needs people to willingly give up their souls. That's what the tickets are, contracts written in starlight and shadow. And the carnival creates fear through its attractions, each one specially designed to tap into your deepest anxieties. I discovered this the hard way when I finally worked up the courage to go back, armed with nothing but my phone's flashlight and way more bravado than common sense. The carnival at night was like something out of a nightmare designed by someone with a really twisted sense of aesthetics. The Ferris wheel turned silently, each car occupied by shadowy figures that waved at passers-by. The carousel played a music box version of current pop songs, which is way creepier than it sounds, trust me. The Hall of Mirrors was where I found the first clue about how to stop them. Each reflection showed a different fear, but if you laughed at it, really laughed, the mirror would crack. The shadows couldn't stand being mocked. They fed on terror, but humor, that was like poison to them, which gave me an idea so stupid it had to work. I spent the next day gathering supplies, joke books, funny videos saved on my phone, my dad's old comedy albums, and, my secret weapon, videos of baby animals being ridiculous. Then I recruited help. Not the popular kids or the athletes, but the theater geeks, the comedy club, and the AV squad, the people who knew how to make others laugh. Our plan was simple: infiltrate the carnival on its last night, when it would try to harvest all the fear it had cultivated. But instead of screaming, we'd fight back with humor, like a reverse haunted house. Everything went wrong, of course. Mr. Nocturne figured out what we were doing and tried to stop us. The shadows came alive, forming into creatures that would have been terrifying if my friend Kevin hadn't started comparing them to failed pottery projects. The carnival tried to show us our worst fears, but it's hard to be scared when someone's making terrible puns about them. The final showdown happened in the big top. Mr. Nocturne had Jackie and several others in some kind of trance, ready to join the eternal show. He gave us a whole dramatic speech about fear being the natural order and how humans were meant to cower in the dark. I wish I could say I had some clever response. What happened was that I tripped over my own feet, knocked over a stack of props, and ended up with a rubber chicken stuck to my head. And I started laughing. Not because it was funny. Okay, it was a little funny. But because the whole situation was so absurd. Here was this ancient, evil carnival, trying to be all dramatic, and I was standing there with a rubber chicken for a hat. The laughter spread. First Kevin, then the others. Even some of the entranced people started giggling. And the shadows, they started to shrink. Mr. Nocturne's perfect facade cracked, literally, like a porcelain mask breaking. He tried to maintain his dignity, but it's hard to be intimidating when someone's playing the sad trombone sound effect every time you try to make a dramatic statement. The carnival didn't explode or vanish in a puff of smoke. Instead, it just kind of deflated. The shadows retreated, the tents collapsed in on themselves, and Mr. Nocturne gave us the most offended look I've ever seen before dissolving into what looked suspiciously like black glitter. The aftermath was strange. Most people in town don't remember exactly what happened. They know there was a carnival, but the details are fuzzy. The official story is that it was shut down for health code violations. Jackie and the others who were under the carnival's influence recovered, though they still occasionally make shadow puppets that are a bit too realistic. As for me, well, I learned a few things. First, always trust your instincts when something seems creepy. Second, the best defense against fear isn't courage. It's being able to laugh at the absurdity of it all. And third, Never underestimate the power of a well-timed rubber chicken. The fairground is empty now, though sometimes at sunset, I swear I can hear the faint sound of carnival music, but it doesn't scare me anymore. After all, what's there to fear when you face down ancient shadow demons with nothing but bad jokes and a rubber chicken? Though I did notice a new poster downtown yesterday, advertising something called the Circus of Starlight. But that's probably nothing to worry about. Probably. The end.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this tale, don't forget to like, comment below with your thoughts, and subscribe for more thrilling stories. Hit the bell icon to stay updated on our latest adventures. See you next time.